Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Graeff, and I'm an elementary school art teacher at two schools in the Harrisburg area. I'm going to share with you my research proposal. So my proposal is on motivation of fourth and fifth grade students in the art classroom. Student motivation is a prominent issue among teachers. The concern with finding ways to motivate students toward positive behaviors and engagement in learning is evidenced by the widespread use of reward-focused incentives in schools. Extrinsic rewards such as awards, prizes, and parties are widely accepted and advocated, but they've come under scrutiny. Studies have shown that there is indeed reason for teachers to exercise great care when using reward-based incentive systems because tangible rewards do significantly and substantially undermine intrinsic motivation. So how can teachers develop students' intrinsic motivation? The idea to study motivation came from my own experiences as a student teacher and as a new art teacher. Working in elementary schools that implement a positive behavioral interventions and support system, or PBIS, with a rewards component, has allowed me to observe the use of extrinsic rewards in action. I've listened to teachers' concerns, and I've questioned the value of these rewards. As an art teacher, I wonder why some students aren't inherently motivated by art making. I seek to discover ways to motivate students intrinsically and also to try out extrinsic rewards. Fourth and fifth grade students are the focus of my research study because at these grade levels, students seem to become more difficult to engage. My research question is, what are the effects of extrinsic and intrinsic motivation strategies on fourth and fifth grade art students in a school with a mandated PBIS system that includes a rewards program? Studies show that teachers must work to motivate their students. Rather than focusing on rewards for motivating students' learning, it's important to focus more on how to facilitate intrinsic motivation. So, what has been shown to work? Students must be given meaningful choices and a sense of ownership in their actions, autonomy, a sense that they can succeed and grow, competence, and a sense of belonging and connection, relatedness. Teachers must develop the conditions for intrinsic motivation by creating a learning atmosphere where everyone can feel respected. They must give students a voice and choices, incorporate student perspectives and values into learning experiences, and ascertain whether students have learned something of value and authenticity. Studies have also described the undermining effects of extrinsic rewards, specifically expected tangible rewards, particularly in children. I admit that I've developed a skeptical attitude toward the reward systems in schools, but want to push past my biases and investigate the potential for using extrinsic rewards. Primarily, I want to try out different strategies for fostering intrinsic motivation in my students. I think the findings can be of value in terms of students' learning and growth in and beyond the art classroom. I most closely relate to Cresswell's social constructivist paradigm, in which multiple realities and truths exist that shape the human experience. According to this worldview, knowledge is not a fixed entity, but is constructed through lived experiences, situated within contexts such as time, place, and culture. I try to open my mind to the many ways that students construct knowledge based on their life experiences. I also relate to the constructivist idea that a researcher's assumptions can be reshaped and redirected by information that emerges through a study, such as emergent design. One of the philosophical assumptions I relate to is ontology, which views reality as subjective and supports this by examining the perspectives of different individuals. The other is epistemology, in which the researcher conducts their studies in the field, immersing themselves in the context of research. So I decided to use case study methodology using action research to conduct my study. Case study research involves the study of an issue explored through one or more cases within a bounded system through detailed, in-depth data collection. The cases are my fourth and fifth grade classes, and the bounded system is my art classroom and possibly other settings at one of the elementary schools where I teach. The issue is student motivation in the art classroom, and I'm collecting data on the effects of both extrinsic rewards and intrinsic motivators. My primary data collection method is observation of how my students respond to different strategies for motivation. I will also incorporate informal interviews with fellow teachers, the school principal, and select students to gain different perspectives and ideas. So I observed fourth and fifth grade students in my art classroom at one of the elementary schools where I teach. The observations included instances of 7 fourth grade and 7 fifth grade classes. I focused on students who were particularly challenging to motivate and those who I felt offered interesting insights. I drew from existing research on ways to improve motivation and implemented suggestions I'd received from colleagues, including my mentor teacher, who's also an art teacher, and the school principal. I also tried using the school's currency as a reward. I recorded my observations at the end of each class, reflected on the results, and decided how to adjust my strategies. So, by analyzing the data collected and noticing patterns of behavior among the students, I began to develop assertions related to my research question. Improvements in motivation seem to result from the forging of connections with my students. Student interest in lesson content and materials. Lessons that were interesting, but not overwhelming, that involved choice, but also had explicit instructions, expectations, parameters, and guidelines, and giving my students praise and positive feedback. What about the use of extrinsic rewards? In general, use of the school currency or bucks as a motivator increased productivity to a point, but engagement was not deepened or maintained, and the quality of work was not elevated. For example, when I offered bucks as a reward on the condition that students participate and hand in work at the end of class, students did the minimum to earn the reward. They did not make high quality work, and the motivating effect did not last beyond the classroom. When I used bucks as a motivator during cleanup time to encourage students to transition from their work to the more mundane task of cleaning up, the rewards were effective and improved the efficiency and quality of the cleanup process. Overall, the greatest motivational effects resulted from students taking an interest in the work, including the lesson content and the art materials they could use. I'm making real connections between the results of studies on motivation and the students I teach in my art classroom. Going forward, I plan to continue my action research and will hopefully gain valuable insights that will elevate my teaching practice and also have positive effects on my students beyond my classroom. Thank you for listening.